It's gonna be awesome. But I want you to tell everyone a little bit about your voice. So let's give a context. Why your voice like this? What happened?
Yeah. I think that our audience can tell that I'm holding a microphone. I'm speaking very, right on my lips, and that's because my voice is so small. I suffered a vocal injury almost 31 years ago. That the short version, it was a bad surgery. And since that time, my voice is very small. I've got maybe 5% of my voice, and it's painful to use. So it's been a fiery trial, like Peter talked about fiery trials. It's been a fiery trial for me, and it's caused me to really press into the Lord, because I believe in the healing power of the cross. He forgives all my iniquities. He heals all my diseases. By his stripes I was healed. He's my healer. And yet I've been walking for 31 years now, waiting for him to fulfill his promise of healing in my life. He's promised in his word, he's promised in the Spirit, he's promised through his prophets, and yet it hasn't happened yet. And so I've been in a fight of faith for 31 years to hold to a promise for 31 years. It's been the fight of my life. And so every day, basically, my life is holding to faith, staying in faith, and believing his promise for my life. And so I feel like I'm in a journey with the Lord, and I have great expectation that he's gonna write a good story, because the longer the delay, the bigger the plot. It just gets more intense, the ramifications are more significant, and the fireworks is just going to be bigger. So I'm waiting on the Lord for him to do it his way. I've been, this last week, I've been meditating in Psalm 23. The Lord is my shepherd. A sheep does not decide where they're going to pasture.
Okay.
They just follow the shepherd. The shepherd decides where we're going, when we're going, where we're going, and the sheep follows. And so I am following Jesus, and I'm in the journey with him the whole way.
And you told us that before this thing happened, the bad surgery, you were a singer.
Well, that's too nice of a word. I did sing. I was a worship leader.
Worship leader.
Yeah, I was never a singer, but I was a worship leader. I played the keyboard, and I was a pastor. So for many years, I was both the pastor and the worship leader in our church. Had a fantastic pastor-worship leader relationship.
I can only imagine.
Yeah, real good communication. Yeah, so I did that for many years until this happened, and so yeah, I pastored a church for 13 years, and so I've been, and before that, I was a worship director at a Bible school. So I ran the worship program in a Bible school back in the 1980s. A lot of people watching us right now weren't even born back then.
I wasn't born.
Yeah, so I go way back. I'm a fossil. I just go way back.
And how was it, a pastor and a worship leader with no voice? How was that in the first days, months?
Well, it was devastating, because what does a pastor do? They can't talk. What does a worship leader do? They can't sing. And I haven't sung for nearly 31 years now. But it's interesting, Douglas. There's something about the Levitical ministry that when God gives you a Davidic psalmist heart, you just never grow past it. So I still feel like I'm a worship leader. I still feel like I'm a worshiper and a psalmist. It's just a part of my identity, and I speak at a lot of worship events. Actually, I'm going to be at one. I leave tomorrow to go to Michigan for a worship event. It's just kind of an intriguing element that for a guy that hasn't sung for 30 years, I do a lot of addressing worship ministries. I've written books on worship, and so yeah, so the giftings and callings of God are irrevocable, and when He puts something in you, an injury, you can't take it out. So yeah, so I'm a lover of Jesus.
What was your first book about worship?
Yes, it was. My first book actually came out in 1986.
So did you have the voice problem? No.
No, this happened in 1992.
92.
So I wrote a book on worship called, in English, it's called Exploring Worship, and it's in Portuguese. And the Lord took that literally around the world, an international, something interesting about exploring worship. It got translated into Russian, and it went all over Russia.
Really?
Because they said it was the first book on worship for the Christian community in Russia. And everybody got it for their choir and their worship team and so on. And so when I go to Russia, everybody knows my name.
Really?
All across Russia, you wrote that book. So that's just how the Lord used that book. It was a pivotal book at a pivotal time back in the 80s, and it went around the world. So I'm just grateful to the Lord.